Super Senpai Podcast.
Welcome to the Super Senpai Podcast. This is a weekly, episodic tokusatsu-related podcast where we're talking about big wrecks in spandex. I'm Pat.
And I'm Grant.
And I'm Ian.
Yes. This week I'm not going to pretend to be surprised. I knew we had a guest. We've had a guest for 3 weeks.
Eventually,
but it is great to have you here, Ian.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. We have. But no, thanks so much for being on. I know that we know this is a bit of a time zone issue for you. You were...
It's fine. The forces of time are at my command.
That's right. If you didn't know, everyone, Ian is a chronomancer and can manipulate time. So that's going to be nice to have on the show, you know.
First, real quick, before we get into intro, real quick announcement. This week, it is our absolute pleasure to announce our monthly drawing. Yay. At the end of the month, we're giving back to our lovely question-submitting kohai in the form of a drawing for our brand spanking new, sort of, shirt design. Everyone who submits a question that we answer is entered into the drawing, and at the end of the month, we'll send one of you lucky ducks a shirt. This is free for everyone in the continental United States, but if you happen to be international, we'll work something out.
Yeah, we're really excited about this. We've been talking about it for a while, and because people ask so many questions, and we really like the way we like all the questions people ask, we're looking to give back in some way because it really encourages us. So it'll feature the Super Senpai Podcast, the logo that you see when you load it up on iTunes. So we're really excited about this.
Yeah, that is very nice, and they're not even paying me to say that.
Thanks, Ian. Your check's in the mail.
More shots for me.
So, but with that out of the way, so obviously, if you want to win a shirt, the easy thing is to just keep asking us great questions, and you'll keep getting entered, and we'll let you know on Twitter, most likely. But Ian, since you're here, tell us a little bit about your background with the karate bugmans and the multicolored lycra suits.
Okay, so like a lot of people, I saw like Power Rangers as a kid. I saw the early 2000 seasons, like Wild Force, SPD, and then Mystic Force came on, and I was like, I don't like this anymore. Whoops. Sorry, people who like that season. I also had the 90s movie. We had it on VHS, and I watched the crap out of it as a kid. And I somehow made no connection that it was the same Tommy in Dino Thunder when he later shows up. I was like, very stupid child. But then once I kind of got out of the usual age range for that, it kind of passed out my memory. But I don't know, it almost seemed like I was searching for Toku without really knowing what it was. Like, I kept being interested. Maybe I should get back into it, or maybe I should watch, like, kaiju movies, like Godzilla. And then sometime in 2014, I just sort of found, it was Christmas 2014, I found just, uploaded online a clip of, like, the first episode of the first Kamen Rider. I was like, oh my god, I've been waiting my whole life for this.
That's a heck of a Christmas present.
Yeah, and I just sort of started watching a lot, and haven't stopped.
Nice.
Is this where I'm supposed to, like, say how much stuff I've seen?
Sure, it doesn't hurt.
Here I go, revealing my power level, because it's most of Kamen Rider, of, like, all the eras. There's only, like, a couple seasons I haven't seen. Probably about half of Sensei as well. And I've been, as many of the fandom have been, I've been getting into other things now, like, I've seen a few Ultramans, and I'm a big fan of Mill Hero now. Yeah, a couple of dips into one-offs here and there.
Right on.
Like, basically, like most of us, it's one of those, like, you go a long time without finding it, and then all of a sudden it's like...
Yeah, just in the last few years, it's just sort of taken over.
This is a story that we're hearing a lot of, and I think it's really encouraging in a way that, like...
Fandom's growing.
Yeah, the fandom is growing, and it's, I mean, not to pontificate too much, but it does feel like the past few years, with the sort of proliferation of streaming services and these things being accessible and all that, it feels like... It still feels like a fresh fandom, and yet it has history, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you'll meet a few people who've been, like, around for decades, and then
right.
There's always new people coming in, partly because I keep shoving it at every friend I can.
Well, that's definitely what we're here for, to shove.
I guess the other thing to cover is that I am the rare decade mega fan. That much maligned show.
I think I might have given you a bit of guff for digging Decade. I think Decade is your number one, but I was talking to my wife about it earlier, and she was like, it was a fun show, okay? And I was like, okay, yeah, you're right, it was fun. Like,
I'm just like pointing to some like conspiracy board where I've linked up all the nonsensical plot points, like, it's a masterpiece!
I was disdainfully comparing it to McDonald's, and she was like, "Oh, because everyone likes it and it's fun and people enjoy it." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, that's what we're gonna go with. That's pretty good."
It's a complete mess, but it's my mess.
No, I agree. And then the gifts that keep coming up, and I think, you know what? You're right. It was fun. I enjoyed. I had a good time. I'm not mad.
A bad time with Toku is always a good time, in my opinion. I don't think. So,
yeah.
Well, great. So, Iain, as we keep going, have you been feeling about Lupinranger versus Patoranger so far?
I ended up watching basically all of it just sort of in a row and run up in preparation for this. I'm really quite enjoying it. I went through like phases when it was first announced. I was really interested in the concept, and then when they released character bios, I was a bit, I'm not sure about this actually. And then I watched it, and it's fine actually. I really like it. I like the Patrangers a lot. I have to say, especially 1 and 3. 3 is very cool. 1 has this kind of obviously everyone's done the Zenigata comparison, but he's like a younger, like angrier Zenigata. Like he's still got that youthful energy. They're fun to watch. I was initially, when it was announced, I was going to be like, yeah, Team Lupinranger, and then they revealed it was like, oh, they're kind of rich backers, I don't know, and then it turned out they were just not as interesting as the other team. They're fine. Okay, they're fine. They're stylish.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my thoughts so far.
Overall, I've been having a lot of fun with it. Trying to commit to more Sentai stuff, and this seems like it's doing a good job. Keeping me hooked. Like, keeps granting my wishes.
Yeah. Can I like take advantage of that? Like you seem to be like have some magic power of like predicting the path of episodes. So by coming on here, can I just be like, I predict that Decade will show up and Yellow and Pink will kiss.
Now we're granting wishes.
I want $1,000. I'm British. Why do I want dollars?
Not pounds? Okay.
It's in the spirit.
All right. Shortchanging yourself, but okay. Maybe it'll happen this episode for you. Lupinrangers will leave you a nice present. Probably not. Maybe.
A nice present of negative money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. My spidey sense is telling me that we'll probably get a blue or green focused episode. It feels like that's in the water. I mean, I sort of had my wish granted with Competent Pink episode.
Yes.
2 episodes ago, and that having that happen so early on was already such a treasure.
Her episode was great. I did actually watch the preview for this one, so I'll just like shut up and not tell you how accurate or not your hope is.
That's how considerate. All right.
I'm still fishing for that more of the full Lupin Kaiser suit. That's another thing I'm still hoping we get at some point. And Gangler motivation. I want to see
Double Super. Double Super.
Yeah, Double Super would be nice. I really
we've seen like what most
motivation.
of the Ganglers want, which is like to succeed the boss, but we don't know if he has an end game.
Right, exactly. Like, what is like? I mean, we get that he likes to sit around and look really cool in his mafia base. We all do. But what is his like actual active goal? That would be something nice to know, I think. So,
yeah.
Ready to start this one off and get going?
All right.
Ready when you are.
All right.
この番組は楽しい時を作るグループ PRT とザ・コミックフィンドとご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
All right, we're back. Good stuff this week. We got that follow-up that we were looking for. It was a 2-parter episode. We got the Chicken Knight coming back. We got to see Giant Chicken Knight. And then kind of a bigger focus on Patoranger and sort of strengthening his resolve, as well as kind of boosting Lupinranger's resolve.
Patoranger kind of pining a bit for Lupinranger now. It's going to be a real shame when he sees him in his civilian identity and finds out. How do you describe him? The world's tallest 6-year-old? That's going to be a real letdown.
Yes, that is what I called him.
Keiichiro
is very good.
Just stretch out. It's a tall child. We got to see the Patoranger kind of realize what he's doing this for, really think about why he's getting into this. It's not for his pride, but really his responsibility as a member of the global police to protect or take care of the citizens. And so then since they demonstrated that, I think Lupinranger picked that up, or at least appreciated it, and sort of took that into their Megazord fight with the Chicken Knight. And then we finally got to see them use the helicopter that they stole from the last episode as part of an arm upgrade on the Lupin Kaiser. That was most of it. I don't think we had any. And then we did get. We actually got to see what we think is probably the Gangler that was going around freezing people, specifically the Lupinranger's loved ones. Mm-hmm. Not in action, but we got to see their human mask.
Yes.
Yeah.
So pretty good time.
Very, very conspicuous, which they seem to be. Grant, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I like this one. I mean, I was positive on last week's too. I've been pretty much positive on all of them, but I really like this one. I think, as we discussed a little bit, Keiichiro, Patoranger has pretty much just been slightly angrier, slightly younger Zenigata for most of the show, but this one really helped bring him into focus. Not so much. I mean, he didn't really like crystallize a worldview that's like too radically strange for a policeman. He honestly believes in protecting people. Like, it's not a whoa, what an original,
platonic ideal of a cop.
Right, but I think specifically because, and we've talked about this before, because these two teams are always juxtaposed against each other, that's part of it too. Like, they don't necessarily have to always be original, but you can, like, whether it's suit designs or attack designs or whatever. So having it literally play out, like having Keiichiro and Kairi, Lupinranger, having their different philosophies literally play out in the fight, where I'm going to call him Rooster Knight, because we've basically been calling him Rooster Knight. Rooster Knight throws those two purple boomerang attacks towards both of them, and Lupinranger, of course, stylishly dodges out of the way, because that's what Lupinranger does. But Patoranger, Keiichiro, takes it full in the chest in order to protect some civilians that no one else noticed, or that weren't noticed by the camera in the initial part of the fight. And I think that was like a really important moment for him, more than the other stuff in the episode was pretty okay. But yeah, you're like, okay, he's a good boy, and this makes him a good character, and it really, that was a really great scene.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting them to get too many focus episodes, even though they're my favorites, because generally that's how Phantom Thief shows go, where the cops are sympathetic but still antagonists. So it was interesting to see them actually get focus episodes.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was interesting. They can go a little bit more into. I guess it's interesting to me, given that Pato Pink has been sort of the competent sort of rock for their team. Having it frame the initial part of her joining the force and Keiichiro joining the force, them being they're coming in together at the same time, but that she's very kind of pragmatic and almost mercenary about it. Like, for her, it's about the pay and the pension, but for him, it's about the true belief in what the global police stand for. So, given that she's the sort of the most capable person on the team,
absolutely, I do hope that obviously, I hope that he grows, but I hope that isn't at the expense of her being the competent one. I seem to have a history of liking pink-themed heroes called Tsukasa.
Reinforcing that. That's great.
I'm of the school of thought that every person on the team should get their time to shine and be competent, certainly. But, I definitely already like the dynamic that the Patos have, and the way Pink is kind of the stable one there. But I can go with Red being the passionate one, the true believer, so to speak, and willing to kind of. Whereas Pato, I mean, at least it seems, currently we're only a few episodes in, but whereas, say Pato Pink is she executes, and then Pato Green is kind of bumbling his way through it. You know, Pato Red's, he's willing to lay it on the line. So yeah, so I like that. How about you, Pat? How you feeling about this one?
Good vibes. I was kind of hoping to get, I mean, obviously it was set up to be a focus on Pato Red, but I was kind of, maybe this is just on my wish list now, to get more of Green, like to really see what he's about. Because the most we're getting that he's a kind of a goofball, and that he might have sort of a crush on Lupin Yellow.
He can sort of come through when it counts.
Oh yeah. I don't dislike him, but I definitely want more of him. Didn't get my double super this time, but I'll get it. It's on there.
We did at least get the full Lupin Kaiser suit.
Yes. We got a nice view of the Lupin Kaiser hard suit.
Very happy to see that.
And we got to see that them actually getting like another upgrade, something that's compatible with the Versus Changer. It seems like, do they actually use their vehicles? Because their vehicles are color coded to each individual suit. Does that, can we infer that the helicopter is bound to, a fourth one, or is it just like an upgrade, or not necessarily?
Just going off past Sentai, probably not, because it tends to be like their like main vehicle like kind of looks like them, but then they'll just get others that are just kind of there.
Yeah, and there's definitely been a theme, at least there a number of seasons that I've seen, where the interchangeable arm gimmick, where you have sort of a core body and the head and arms shift out. So I think they, at least in the seasons like that, they tend to have way more additional combining parts than they have like Zords, so to speak, to put them on. So that wouldn't be, it would be nice to see a third suit. And again, our theory of there being a third team and in lieu of a sixth ranger would be super great, but it wouldn't be outside the norm for them to have additional pieces that just don't have a...
Yeah, I think what I said was my theory is at some point all 6 of the main vehicles will like stick on to Good Striker and make a really big robot.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that one. I want to see that. So if we just keep combining things, or if that super non-mecha super is, I forget what it's actually called, but if it's multiplicative, then they're all going to fuse into one. All 6 of them are going to fuse into one. That will then split into 6.
6 copies of like Rainbow Ranger.
Oh yeah.
There was actually a Rainbow Ranger in the 70s.
I'm here for that. I'm here for Rainbow Ranger.
There was one in the 70s who was played by like the most awesome actor ever. So yeah, check out Jaka for that. Although by the time he shows up, the show's kind of taken a really weird turn.
Another thing that I wanted to mention, it was nice to see, for myself at least, it was nice to see a return of the more action-focused camera at one point, the GoPro drone shots. I still like those. I know some people that we've talked to didn't like them as much. I like them just because they're different.
Yeah, I find that there's at least quite a few recent Toku tend to be just not very directed, if that makes sense. And this very much is... it has a very distinct direction.
I mean, would I want the entire show done like that? No. Do I like having it show up pretty frequently as an alternative? Very much so. And we got some interesting direction here in general, particularly like with in this scene where Keiichiro, when Pato Red takes the blast and he's holding the cement and the rebar like on his shoulder. We get you guys jokingly called it a loading screen take, but him like spiraling in front of himself, and then like the split view across his face. Like there was some interesting elements there.
They're like having ideas and doing interesting
they're taking
things.
chances. And I think a little favorite moment for me was the appearance of Lupinranger in that fight near the steps. Just them like the way they appeared, like we didn't really get a full transformation for them this week.
Yeah, definitely.
And it was just an interesting, like,
like flipped onto one of the mooks.
Yeah, exactly. Flipping off mooks. I'm all about that intro. And then just using the steps to kind of like pose like they would normally on the buildings. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah, it looked nice.
So any other comments or thoughts or anything, guys?
I think that's about it for me.
Yep, I'm good.
Well, alrighty then. Let's go ahead and dive into these Twitter questions, because folks, we got a couple. Okay.
All right.
So let's try to start here at the bottom. So from Dave Skaz, he asks first, when do you think will be the optimal point for the teams to join forces? Mid-season, finale, movie, sometime else, never? Why?
I'm gonna say mid-season. I'm gonna just go mid-season. Or
I feel like it could go a lot of ways.
I'm just gonna plant my flag in mid-season and say that'll be about the time that we get that third team, third team to shake things up even more.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it could. That's possible. It could also be that it's sort of a gradual thing where they start working together more, but they're still finding just an alliance of convenience become more common.
Right.
I don't know, because I feel like they could almost end the final episode with a final battle between the two. But that would obviously only work if they hadn't already teamed up.
Well, they could team up and then sort of break apart due to inter-team conflicts. That's the thing that could happen, right?
Yeah, that could be quite interesting.
I think for myself, the win doesn't matter as much as long as the tension is there. I mean, this is a season that has verses in the title, so I kind of want there to be some tension across teams.
Yeah.
I don't mind them joining up midway through the season if we get our third team idea where they can have a new foe they have to deal with. Or if we don't get that, which would probably be a stretch anyway, I would like for them to not really join forces pardon me, forces until maybe 3/4 of the way through or closer to the end, and then maybe still retain some tension and some doubts between them, so they're never quite a working unit.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a fairly funny last shot could pretty likely be just the thieves running off with the police still in pursuit, just fade out.
All right, so we got two now from Popeye Otaku, our good buddy Troy. Now I'm going to do my best to read these. He's got two questions for us. His first question.
I should do your best Popeye impression for this.
How do you see now? It's going to be a weird accent. No, I can do the agagag. How do you think Lupat will deal with the rivalry over the long term? And if they team up, will they have to change the title? That's his first question.
I feel like the title could stay. There've been a handful of Sentai versus movies that have just been team ups. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they can sustain this for 50 or so episodes.
I don't think the title would need to change, to be honest. The verses could end up being, maybe right now they're kind of aggressively racing towards collecting the Lupin items, but eventually it could be, for fun or even just as a friendly rivalry thing, which feels kind of like what we're building towards anyway, right?
Yeah. They're getting more respectful for each other.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the big thing is going to be if they start moving closer together, it's going to be secrets between the teams, things they're not revealing to each other or one another that are, keeping that up. Oh, well, you didn't tell me about X, and more drama and all that kind of stuff.
Misunderstandings.
The classic.
Oh, no.
Turn away and clench your fist and say, I can't believe you wouldn't tell me that. Very minor detail. I'll never trust you again.
If you say misunderstandings into the mirror 3 times, Toshiki Inoue appears behind you.
Don't do this.
Troy has another question, equally important. Is the Robin Williams Popeye movie count as a Toku film?
Yeah.
I mean, look, yes.
Yeah.
I think the long and the short of it is yes.
How much special effects were there?
I mean, he had the forearms, right?
I mean, yeah, that's Suitmation, isn't it? I think that counts as Suitmation. It's got to.
Yes, that's his henshin.
Spinach henshin. He was
Olive. I can't do it.
Just grabs the Spanish bottle and plugs it into his belt, just like a can opener.
Yep, you're right. Mm-hmm.
He winds up both his fists.
If you've seen that Kamen Rider G short, there's a wine opener belt.
His henshin call is strong to the finish. And, I think it works.
I imagine that could well be something a belt shouts out.
Wouldn't be surprised. We'll work on that. We'll workshop some of that.
Wimpy obviously is the secondary writer, and he's sort of like Date from O's, where he only works for pay, but the pay is, of course, hamburgers. I think that's obvious. He's got a giant metal can of hamburgers he collects.
I think I have. I think I figured out what sound effects I want to work on for this show now. Like fake Toku, made up Toku sound effects. Thank you, Troy, for this new project to play with.
Alright, so this one comes to us from Michael. He asks, would Toku shows going back to the days of playing multiple part insert songs per episode instead of one be a good thing or detrimental?
I can't not picture Just Beyond when he says this, because he's like so associated with it to me. And yeah, I would like something like that. Maybe just because that show's inserts were so good, but add something to the action to me.
I don't know if I can't really speak to this question, so I'm gonna have to sit this one out.
I think it's super easy to say yes, more songs. I mean, if nothing else, one of the great joys of Toku is it already sort of operates on like music video logic, you know, where like you can just be fighting in a park and then someone punches you into a beach and you just don't. You're like, okay, like
like,
that's fine. So more music would not
it was right
take
there.
away from it.
That's the geography of Tokyo.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you would like to see something like that, check out any of the Metal Heroes shows from the 80s.
Yes.
Or the 90s. I haven't seen the 90s ones.
Alright, so this one comes to us from Marcos. They ask, should Kamen Rider get another adaptation? Obviously, I believe they're referring to Saban's Masked Rider here as the former adaptation.
Well, there was also Kamen Rider Dragon
Dragon
Knight.
Knight.
That's
man.
true, Dragon Knight as well. I apologize. I'll turn in my scarf and my
I don't know
badge.
if that was any good or not.
I think people were into it. I remember the vibe. I think I was on Mecha at the time that people were actually tuning in, and then they were pretty mad that the last few episodes were shot and they were produced, but they didn't air them for whatever reason. And so,
oh, really?
Yeah, but
Wow.
I think there was enough clamor that they got put up online or something. I think I might be misremembering this, but people were paying attention, so I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know what Kamen Rider was in 2009. So,
Right, that's right.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think anything could potentially work. You just gotta. It's in the execution, how you market it and how you spin it, and what kind of show you make.
I think I agree with that, and I think I would, but I wouldn't give it to Saban. I would pick someone else. I don't know who, but someone. Just
kind of anyone else.
I don't know if I'd go quite that far. Maybe, but yes.
Sorry.
Quite a few. 99% of anyone else. Okay, this one comes to us from Alex. I like this question a lot. In the similar vein to game Tokyojur or Drive Nin specials, what Kamen Rider and Super Sentai would you team up together in a special crossover, not necessarily from the same year? So pick a KR, pick a Sentai, slam them together.
Oh, easy peasy since we're on it. Lupinranger versus Patoranger versus Drive, since we got cops. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Just because Drive's my boy.
Fair enough. What would I do? I might want to team up like something like Super One or Forze with like one of the Space Sentai, like Flashman or something.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I think I would probably do Tokyojur and Kamen Rider Amazon, because I would want to see my sweet silly train children respond to the horrible violence of my Kamen Rider Amazon.
No, but Amazon is like a really nice, sweet guy.
Yeah, but
he's
violence.
A friend. Yeah, he's
taking. But that's only if you're not his friend.
He's protecting his friends. I was so sure you were
gonna. It's only if you're not his friend.
I know, but I'm saying they would be fighting alongside him and then go, oh no, oh no. One of them is literally a puppet. I mean, and then there'd just be blood everywhere.
Oh boy,
I'd watch it.
I was so sure you were gonna go with Dano, since it's another train. It's a train rider and train sentai, but I guess maybe that's too on the nose.
Too on the nose.
I'm not the biggest fan of one of these shows, and I haven't seen the other. But Wizard and Magi Ranger just kind of need to meet.
Yeah,
to make Wizard a better show.
Oh snap!
I don't know. I haven't seen Wizard.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
Throwing shade on Wizard. Sorry, Wizard fans.
We just lost our entire fan base was Kamen Rider Wizard fans, and they're just gone
Whoops.
now. They're just.
curse upon you for 1,000 generations.
A pox on our house. This one comes to us
Kidding,
from...
it's fine. If you like Wizard, then like Wizard. It's cool.
Don't you tell the people what to like and not to like, you monster. No. Sunglass Pre, good buddy. You all remember her from episode 3. What are your guys' favorite toy gimmicks for a Toku show? It can be from any franchise. Okay, this...
I quite like the Gashatsu in Exade. I say looking over at my shelf where I have like 4 of them.
Which ones do you have?
I've got the Mighty Axe one that comes with the driver. I've got Tattle Quest, Jet Combat, and the Forza one.
Oh yeah, very nice. I
slowly growing collection of plastic video game stuff.
Yeah, we happened to be in Japan at the time. I think it was at the December. So right after the Christmas episode or so.
Oh Jesus.
Yep. I spent so much time hunting down a Bang Bang shooting one, and I found it in a bit camera, and I was so happy.
Nice.
So happy.
Nice.
But I didn't get I actually backed down from getting the driver itself, which I should have done. But we just didn't have enough space. I had filled our suitcases already, so I had to to cut back somewhere.
I also really like cards. So it's the Decade fan. But no, I like them in the several shows that they show up in.
I'm gonna do a little side. That's a sort of maybe push my glasses up and act like a cool guy answer. But one of my favorite toy gimmicks is the use of a toy in the show that isn't necessarily directly selling the toy like we see a lot of today. Like, obviously, modern Toku is incredibly toyetic. I mean, for example, the episode we just watched, the weapons they're using in the show are literally, like, probably fresh out of the package. Like, someone ripped them open on set and gave them to the actors and actresses. But I really enjoy, like, and this was... I don't remember if this also happened in Zyuranger, because sometimes it floods. Those Zyuranger and Mighty Morphin sometimes get a little blurred in my memory. But at one point I remember that Rita or Bandora was shrunk down, and someone was just on the set holding an action figure of her. And like...
I think that happened in...
I know it happened in Mighty Morphin, but I don't remember if it happened in Zyuranger or not. But that they were just holding a Rita action figure.
It's strange, because most things that happen in those two shows are pretty mutually exclusive.
Right.
I would think.
Right. So, but just someone's holding that toy and acting like it's her, but like shrunk down.
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily trying to sell the toy. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't like, behold the new Rita action figure. Like, it was just like useful as a plot point. And it's just, something about that just works for me on this weird level.
Yeah. No, I get you.
So, from our good buddy Behalai Bebop, who asked many wonderful questions. Any things in the formulas of various Toku that you would like to see changed? That's a big one.
I would like to see Sentai experiment with robots being less mandatory, because I think like when they first were doing, like they first introduced robots in like the 3rd season, it was like, ooh, look at this cool effects thing we could do. We could have a giant fight, and then it just kind of became like a show off or whatever new like practical effects technique they got the hang of for a while. And now some seasons make them work quite well and that you care about them, and some they just kind of feel like they're just there because they have to be. So I feel like they should have a go at making them not necessarily mandatory.
To add on to that, I'm interested in have they done fights where they didn't have their Megazord and then they actually take down the giant, like take down the kaiju without it? Like,
that's certainly
very occasionally.
It happens in Ultraman.
Very occasionally, there's.
I know.
There's. Do you mean specifically in Sentai or just?
Specifically Sentai. I'm looking for Sentai.
Yeah, there was
definitely happens,
one time in Ranger where they didn't have the robots yet, so they just kind of climbed all over it, going like with their weapons.
I want that. Yeah, that's what I want.
And surprisingly, that worked. And then, like right at the start of Jetman, because like the premise of Jetman is that most of the team is just these unprepared civilians, and like Red is the only like military trained one. So like while the others are all kind of flailing about in the first couple of episodes, he just like jumps this giant robot with like his sword, like ah.
Excellent.
So that's pretty fun.
I mean, one of the things that I appreciate about the question here was Toku in general. One of the things that I appreciate about Sentai teams is that they tend to be larger and you can tend to have a more diverse cast. Certainly wouldn't mind seeing more female Kamen Riders and Ultramen, Ultra Women and such, just as a general
Yes,
rule.
definitely.
That'd be great.
I would like that a lot. They greenlit a female-led Ultraman series in the mid-2000s, but then some scheduling stuff happened and like a Gundam show took its time slot. I will never not be a little mad about that.
I think, we've
You're not
seen
alone.
at least with, Kamen Rider always has at least 2 riders. And you've got, Ultraman, the latest season had 2 Ultramen in it. So, I think there's certainly plenty of space there. Sentai has... There are women riders occasionally, just not nearly as many as I'd like. It'd be nice. It'd be nice to have a main line. I just think that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Eggmath, good buddy, asks, what non-Toku property do you think deserves a Toku adaptation?
What is that? I'm not sure if I understood this question when I saw it. Like, do you mean like the 70s Spider-Man? Is that what we're looking for here? Or
I guess we're thinking like something that doesn't have a live action television show with some practical effects involved, I think. Which can be really anything. The space is pretty wide there.
Yeah.
There's the fact that there's like a Sailor Moon Toku now opens my mind to things like Pretty Cure, Saint Seiya, that kind of thing.
Yeah, actually Saint Seiya would be really cool to see, I think. And I know at least a few people, all of South America and Mexico would be down for it.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Did you know there was a Saint Seiya live action musical?
I did not know that. Well, that sounds
in
great.
which they were played by the band SMAP.
Of course it was.
And it was really bad.
Oh no, that's a shame.
By which you mean
it's kind of endearing.
It's quite entertaining, and I need to watch it. Speaking of Sailor Moon and musicals, the Sailor Moon musicals, I've seen the first one that came out in 2013 of the current Takarazuka run that they're doing. Because there's another one coming out soon. Those are really good. Highly recommended. I really enjoyed it.
Ooh.
I should check those out. Speaking of anime musicals, the Utena Tena musical that came out recently?
Oh, really? I'd really like to see that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, there was one, and Toga in it is played by the actor who played Kamen Rider DN.
Really?
Oh, boy.
So that will really affect my viewing experience.
Well, very cool. I want to check that out.
That rings a few bells for me, I think.
In terms of non-Toku property getting a Toku adaptation, again, I'm interpreting that as getting a live action adaptation with practical effects, at least in the oeuvre of what Toei and Super Eye Productions do. I would maybe get a little weird with it and maybe go for some literary stuff. Imagine if we got to see something like the Odyssey retold like a Toku.
Whoa.
Or
okay.
Like the Iliad or something insane. Imagine,
classic literature.
Hector and Achilles battling it out on motorcycles. Would that not be amazing? Would that not be incredible?
Journey to the West or something.
I mean, the Odyssey itself is if you think about it, it's kind of like an original.
The Trojan horse may be one of the first mecha. I mean, really, right after the Colossus of Rhodes. I mean,
oh my god, they would totally have
a Trojan horse mecha with stealth powers.
I guess Greek myths. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I guess those heroic myths are the precursor to our superhero idea. So yeah.
Oh boy, I would like to go back to this one in the future with some written out concepts.
I would also say I would want some kind of shorter miniseries or just movie Devilman thing.
Yeah.
But there was a Devilman live action movie. It was also quite bad. Sorry to keep bringing up obscure things that were not good.
Totally fine. Well, I think that is all of the questions we had, but God, we had a lot of them this week. A lot of good ones.
Wow.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
That was a rally.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, so thank you to everyone for sending in your questions. It was really great. I had a lot of fun answering those.
Absolutely.
Pat, as always, thanks for being on with me, buddy. And Ian, thanks so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you on.
It was great to be here.
It's been a real dang treat.
Yeah, a real dang treat indeed.
All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in to the Super Senpai Podcast. We'll notice you again next time.
Super Senpai Podcast.